Giri Duhi Saraha Santashaha. Okay, sure there's a meter. And yea, many others. Cha also, Madaha, rivers, Madhyaha, small rivers, Cha, and Varshe, in each tract of land. Shanti are uh, Bahashaha, of many varieties. Meru, Adigiri, Duhi Sharaha, daughters of the mountains, beginning with Meru. Shatashaha, Shatashaha, in the hundreds. Translation: many other rivers, both big and small, flow from the top of Mount Meru. These rivers are like daughters of the mountain, and they flow to the various tracts of land in hundreds of branches. And we will read the next verse. Okay. I will do this, just the translation again, the synonyms. Kathra api, out of all of them. Baramtam, known as Bart Varsha. Eva, certainly. Varsham, the tract of land. Karma Sethram, the field of activities. Anyani, the others. Ashtavarshani, 8 tract of land. Swarginam, of the living entities elevated to the heavenly planets by extraordinary pious activities. Punya, of the results of pious activities. Shesha, of all the remainder. Upabogha, Stanani, the places for material enjoyment. Bomani, Swarga, Padani, as the heavenly planets, as the heavenly places on earth. Vyapadishanti, they designate. Srila Prabhupada's translation. Among the 9 Varshas, the tract of land known as Bart Varsha is understood to be the field of activities, of the field of fruitive activities. Learned scholars and saintly persons declare the 8 Varshas to be meant for very highly elevated, pious persons. After returning from the heavenly planets, they enjoy the remaining results of their pious activities in these 8 earthly Varshas. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The heavenly places of enjoyment are divided into 3 groups: the celestial heavenly planets, the heavenly places on earth, and the Bila heavenly places, which are found in the lower regions. Among these 3 classes of heavenly places, Boma, Swarga, Padani, the heavenly places on earth are the 8 Varshas, other than Bart Varsha. In Bhagavad Gita 9:21, Krishna says, Shani Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. When the persons living in the heavenly planets exhaust the results of their pious activities, they return to the earth. In this way, they are elevated to the heavenly planets, and then they again fall to the earthly planets. This process is known as Brahmana, wandering up and down throughout the universes. Those who are intelligent, in other words, those who have not lost their intelligence, do not involve themselves in the process of wandering up and down. They take to the devotional service of the Lord so that they can ultimately penetrate the covering of this universe and enter the spiritual kingdom. Then they are situated on one of the planets known as Vaikuntha Loka, or still higher, Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. A devotee is never caught in the process of being promoted to the heavenly planets and again coming down. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, E Rupe Brahmana Brahmane Kana Bhagyat Bhagavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhaktilata Beach. Oh, that's a famous verse, Bhaktilata Beach. Among all the living entities wandering throughout the universe, one who is most fortunate comes in contact with a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus get the opportunity to execute devotional service. Those who are sincerely seeking the favor of Krishna comes in contact with a guru, a bona fide representative of Krishna. Am I reading the right thing? Yeah, a bona fide representative of Krishna. The Mayavadis indulging in mental speculation and karmis desiring the results of their actions cannot become gurus. A guru must be a direct representative of Krishna who distributes the instruction of Krishna without any change. Thus, only the most fortunate persons come in contact with the guru. As confirmed in Vedic literatures, Tad Vijayanartam Sagurum Eva Gachet. One has to search out a guru to understand the affairs of the spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. Tasmad Gurum Padayante Gyanan Pshu Shreya Uttamam. One who is very interested in understanding the activities of the spiritual world must search out a guru, a bona fide representative of Krishna. From all angles of vision, therefore, the word guru is especially meant for the bona fide representative of Krishna and no one else. Padma Purana states, Avaishnavo Guru Nashyat. One who is not a Vaishnava or who is not a representative of Krishna cannot be a guru. Even the most qualified Brahmana cannot become a guru if he is not a representative of Krishna. Brahmanas are supposed to acquire 6 kinds of auspicious qualities. They become very learned scholars, Patana, and very qualified teachers, and become expert in worshiping the Lord or the demigods, yajana, and they teach others to execute the worship, yajana. They qualify themselves as bona fide persons to receive, to receive charity, no, to receive alms from others, patigraha, and they distribute the wealth in charity, dana. Yet even a brahmana possessing these qualifications cannot become a guru unless he is the representation of Krishna. Guru na shayat. Vaishnava Shwapacha Guru. But a Vaishnava, a bona fide representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, can become a guru, even if he is Shwapacha, a member of a family of dog eaters. Of the 3 divisions of heavenly planets, Swargaloka, Bhoma Swarga, is sometimes accepted as the tract of land in Bharat known as Kashmir. In the region, there are certainly good facilities for material enjoyment, but this is not the business of a pure transcendentalist. Rupa Goswami describes the engagement of a bona fide transcendentalist as follows. Anyabilashita sunyam gyana karmadhanarvitam anukulena krishno shilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna, favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Those who fully engage in devotional service to Krishna just to please him, are not interested in the three divisions of heavenly places, namely Divya Swarga, Bhoma Swarga, and Bila Swarga. Okay, that was a lot. Om Gana Timirandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chakshun Militamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vasai Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine. Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vasai Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamine. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shatatmane. Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhaktivedanta Dinamine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namah. So there is a lot in this verse, my dear devotees, my dear friends. Yeah. However, we're gonna try to see how we can share our small realizations about a few points. Okay. And yeah. So Tarka Prabhu, he is also putting in the chat quite a few things that might be very important, that are very important to understanding these verses. Anyway, the first part of these texts about the rivers, big and small, from the top of Mount Meru, these rivers are daughters of the mountain, and they flow to various tracts of land in hundreds of branches. So Mount Meru, as you know, is a really huge mountain, and everything about Krishna is personal. So Meru is a personality. And so these rivers are being described as daughters. Meru does have daughters. He's married to, I believe, Himavati, or Himavati plays a role with Meru. And so these daughters, we know that the Ganga runs into, I believe, this mountain. And yeah, so this is what Prabhupada is going to describe in the next steps about these different tracts of land, and that how there's all these 8 tracks, and of course there's Bharat-varsha, and I'm sure that you've been discussing all about these different planetary systems or these different universes in previous classes. And as we go on in studying 5th canto, we'll learn more also about these different tracts of land. And so this is where we're at now with Prabhupada giving us this theme of those persons that are wandering. They're wandering in these different universes. And the process, Prabhupada says, is that this is known as Brahmanda, or Brahmana, Brahmana, that people are wandering up and down throughout the universe. And I was thinking about that, wandering. So there's a verse, of course, in Bhagavad Gita that explains that, about these different souls that keeps going up and down, up and down. And that's in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And I'm sure the scholars on this class, they fully know this verse. It's a verse that's recommended to learn. Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punye Avartino Arjuna Mam Upatya Tukunteya Punarjanma Navidyate. So this verse says that from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So basically, this is the beginning of this text. Prabhupada is helping us to remember. He's reminding us, okay, I'm going to share a lot of things to you. However, what's important is to understand that all of these different planetary systems, all of these different universes are simply places where people go up and down, up and down. They're wandering. So as I was thinking about wandering, I thought, I reflected what it would be important for me to know in this verse. What are some of the points that would make a difference in my life as I try to practice bhakti? And what would help me to enter into this verse in such a way that I can have a little experience of what Prabhupada is wanting us to understand. And of course, we'll talk some about gurus and what the gurus are wanting us to understand, specifically in terms of living our daily life. So when I heard this terminology, wandering, everyone is, all these souls, they're just wandering up and down. And I thought, okay, what is the opposite of wandering? What is it? If we're not wandering through these universes, then what would be the opposite of that? What would it look like? So for us, it would look like maybe I'll ask you. Why don't I ask you? Some of you, if you're not wandering, from one place to another, whether it's on this planet or on another planet, then what would be your consciousness? What would you be thinking? Well, how would you be? So I'm just going to ask a few of you if you would be willing to just share. In Bhagavatam class, we like to just hear the speaker, but really you have a lot of realizations yourself. So yeah, Shade Prabhu.
If we're not wandering, then we're just passing through.
Okay, if we're not wandering, we're passing through. Okay. Yeah, anyone else? If we're not wandering. Okay, so yeah, if we're not, as Yashadev Prabhu said, if we're not wandering, then definitely we're moving through, and we're moving through in order to be stable, in order to be fixed, in order to be rooted somewhere, because we don't always want to just wander, right? Prabhupada says everyone is wandering. However, as he says, that those persons that are wandering, they are simply just moving from one place to another. But even as they are wandering, they are knowing that they want to be settled somewhere. Isn't it like that? Even in the material world, we can have desires to travel so many different places, right? And some of us have had that great fortune, I guess, in the material world to go to different places. And at some point, after traveling around in the world, we realize I just need to be stable somewhere. I just want to be stable. And even like the sannyasis, they are supposed to travel and teach, and they're supposed to go and help people to understand this knowledge, the spiritual masters. However, they also want to have a place where they reside. They want to have a place of residence. I live here. So for us, our place to reside is not it's not going from place to place. We won't be able to have a fixed place of shelter, a fixed location, if we have that mentality of I'm just a wanderer, I'm just going from one place to another. That fixed mentality has to come from inside. That fixed mentality, that need for stability, that need for having a permanent residence of some sort, has to come from inside of us. And ultimately, that desire comes from the soul, because it's only the soul is hankering to be rooted. The soul is hankering to be settled. The soul is hankering to be fixed in a place where the soul can experience the joy of who we really are. And so that's what we're really looking for. So in all our wandering from universes, from different planetary systems, from this tract of land to that tract of land, wherever we're wandering, from the highest planet, what is that? Okay, so starting with where Lord Brahma lived, from Satyaloka, Tapaloka, Gyanaloka, Maharloka, Swargaloka, Bhuvarloka, and to Bhuloka. So all of these different places, they're all places where at some point in time, we will introspect and realize I need to be someplace where I'm stable. And I'm stable in bliss and in joy and in service, right? To the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ultimately, that's our desire. However, right now, at least I can speak for myself, in my current reality, I still have a consciousness of wandering in different universes, right? So I have that consciousness, or living entities in the material world have that consciousness. I might have a bit of a different understanding because of the mercy of the spiritual master, due to the mercy of the spiritual master. And so in this process of wandering in these different universes, which was my previous state of consciousness, let's say, and now I'm getting out of that state of consciousness by the mercy of the guru, this reality is changing. However, it hasn't fully changed. It hasn't fully changed to a point where I'm saying, I just really want to stop all this wandering. And I really just want to be um, given shelter with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The reason I can understand that hasn't fully fructified in my heart and in my consciousness is because I'm still having some different attachment, perhaps, to things that within this material world. And that comes from the process of purification. That comes from that process of introspecting and taking shelter. And we'll hear as Prabhupada goes on to explain to us, okay, so yeah, this might be, your previous consciousness. This might even be some of your current consciousness. However, that can all change. And so in order for it to change, though, it's important for us to have a vision, right? We got to have some kind of a vision of how to get out of this traveling mode, this traveling desire, this traveling experience of wandering from one place to another. We got to have some desire. People can say, well, some people, hold on one second, please. I got to talk to Kavira here for a minute. I got it. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Okay, so this process of really looking at this consciousness of wanting to of staying in this mode of wandering in the material universe, it somehow or other, if sometimes people say, okay, I have a desire to not be in the material universe, I have a desire to stop this wandering. So then we start dreaming, we start having some, we start realizing that we're experiencing some tension in our lives from being in the material world. And we start understanding, oh, I got to get out of here. But how do I do this? How does this happen? Because we start realizing this is, there's so many things that goes on in this world that are just not bringing me joy. It's not bringing me real peace. It's not bringing me real happiness. So how do I get out of this? And once we start thinking like this, once we start having some dream about something else, then the spiritual master appears, the teacher appears, because the Lord, who is situated within the heart, Krishna is within our heart as Paramatma, he starts hearing that we're questioning, we're being introspective, we're like understanding, okay, I want to stop wander. I want to stop this wandering, but what do I do? Where am I supposed to go? What's supposed to happen? Is there something else? So once we get to that place of questioning, once we get that place of curiosity, once we get to that place of there's got to be something other than what I'm experiencing in this life, then Krishna, he makes that arrangement for us. And then the spiritual master appears. And the spiritual master then gives us this vision. It gives us this vision that, yes, there is something else. Yes, there is another place. There is a place that is filled with bliss, with eternality, right? This he teaches us about, or she or whomever is going to have that role. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Different kinds of spiritual masters that can help us. There are many different types of spiritual masters, and they come into this material world. And for us, of course, we take shelter of Srila Prabhupada, who has come in the line of the cyclic succession. We are a part of the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava. We are part of that sampradaya. And within that sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada uh, has come from that lineage, that he's part of that disciplic succession. And he has given us this knowledge of how to be aware that we can stop this wandering mentality. We can come to a place of understanding that there is a place of shelter, that there are no miseries, even if somebody's thinking, I just want to be free from my misery. So there is Vaikuntha Loka, and Krishna and Srila Prabhupada has told us that that's a place of no anxiety. There's no anxiety in Vaikuntha Loka. So some people may have that desire to go to a place like that. What's important is that the spiritual master comes into our lives, and the spiritual master, as Prabhupada explains to us, opens our darkened eyes with transcendental knowledge. And with transcendental knowledge, we can start becoming aware that I am wandering. However, it's because I'm going to a specific place. I'm going to have a stop, and that stop will be eternal. That stop will be ever blissful. And in that stop, I will get to realize what I'm practicing now in this life, how to become a servant. At the end of the vision, we actually realize we actually are connected fully with our relationship with the Supreme Lord as a servant. And we will be serving, hopefully, Srimati Tulsi Maharani with her arrangements of service for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's our vision. That's our goal. And so here in this text is so important because Prabhupada says, okay, that's the goal. However, there are some criteria for getting to that goal. And then he highlights that in order for us to get to that goal, we need to take shelter of a spiritual master, of a guru. However, he explains what is a guru, and he gives an elaborate description. And he talks about Brahmana. And I was thinking, why is Prabhupada bringing that into the purport about the different about the mood of a Brahmana? And I could understand that, having lived in India for some time, that many people in India specifically, they are trained from the time they're born. They're born as many are born as Brahmin, as in Brahmana families, and they're trained to think that that's the highest class of human beings, right? Is to become or to be a Brahmana. And so we'll find when we're in India, a lot of times that there are many Brahmanas that, they really minimize, especially people from different cultures, for sure, Westerners, or even within their own different communities, they minimize, the different varnas, the different ashrams, the different types of, not to go there, but there's different systems, caste systems that are there in India. And so a person that's a Brahmana, sometimes they think, they're trained to think, as I said, that they're the most elevated persons on the planet. So Prabhupada he brings that to our consciousness in this purport. And he gives that example that even if brahmanas have all these qualifications, right? A brahmana, even the most qualified brahmana, cannot become a guru, even if he is not a representative of Krishna. I remember a story that was told to me from a devotee that was distributing books in New Zealand. It's a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti, Devi Swami, sorry. His Holiness Devi Swami. And she was sharing with me how she met this devotee and she tried to give him a book. He was, I don't remember where he was from in India, but anyway, she tried to give him a book. And he was like, no, I don't need to take this book because I'm a Brahmana. And she was so happy when he said that because she's trained as a bhakti yogi to understand what's a true brahmana, what's a real brahmana. And she had a conversation with him, and of course he talked about his cultural lineage and how many generations of his family were brahmanas and all this. So then she asked him a question from Srimad Bhagavatam. I can't remember what the question was now, but anyway, he just kind of dismissed the question with this mood of being a brahmana. And so she kind of entertained that for a while. And then she says, okay, so if you are a brahmana, a brahmana understands, certain qualities. They have certain qualities. So she was asking, so what are you doing here in New Zealand? And so then they got into this conversation about him now pursuing, secular things and what he's doing. And I don't know how she found this out, but he was eating meat. And so she was able to speak to him about that. So when we talk about brahmanas, Prabhupada, he tells us in the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj in the seventh canto, he says, even if a brahmana has all the 12 qualities of Brahminical qualification, but is not a devotee and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, then certainly that person is lower than a devotee who is a dog eater. Prabhupada mentions that in the purport. But so a devotee who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee, Prabhupada says, is better than a brahmana because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called brahmana in a position of false prestige cannot purify even himself. A noteworthy point in that story I was sharing from this devotee, that devotee went on to becoming one of the biggest book distributors. That devotee actually is a disciple of Devi Maharaj. His Holiness Devi Maharaj. And that devotee, he tells that story himself sometimes. I think I heard him tell that story in Mumbai once about how when he met this devotee, how that devotee somehow or other was able to just kind of how do you say disintegrate or just take away that whole mentality that he had of being so puffed up that he comes from a Brahmana family. So Prabhupada brings this point, and Prahlad Maharaj, in his prayers, he speaks to us so much about this mood of being a devotee, and for a spiritual master, for us to accept a spiritual master that is a Vaishnava devotee of the Lord. The other points that I thought that was important in this text is that the who is a Vaishnava guru. So we know that a Vaishnava guru must be in disciplic succession. A Vaishnava guru comes from a certain sampradaya. There are different sampradayas, and as I said earlier, we're from a specific sampradaya. A Vaishnava guru, how can we tell who is a guru? Like, who's a guru? This is a big question for many people. Basically, Prabhupada speaks about this in the purport. He says, a guru is someone who can give knowledge of Krishna, basically. A guru is versed in the knowledge of Krishna. Now, that's the basics of understanding a guru. is, yeah, he or she. There are different, anyway, there are different gurus. That person is versed in Vedic knowledge. That person is versed in the scriptures, and that person can point the way. In some cases, some gurus point the way. Some gurus take us on the way to the spiritual world. Some gurus are able to stop that mood of us having this desire to simply wander in the different universes. The guru is able to penetrate our consciousness. Ultimately, the Lord in the heart. The guru is the direct manifestation, a direct representative of Paramatma, of the Lord in the heart. And so the guru, as the external representative, is able to connect with the heart of the jiva, of the living entities, in order to help us to stop the wandering, in order to help us to understand, yes, this place that we're living in is not a place that will ultimately give us eternality. These, as Prabhupada is describing here about these different planetary systems and these different universes, these different tracts of land, if you will, that he's sharing, these tracts, these different places, these different varshas. Okay, so yes, they're there. However, and we've been to Prabhupada, I think, at some point, and please correct me, Parka, if I don't have this correctly, but I've heard this in different places, that Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada says we've already been to most of those places. We've traveled to most of those places already. And that's because we've traveled to many of those places. We may not have the memory for that. However, that's because we have some understanding of that. We are now attracted to bhakti, because ultimately this is someplace that, is like the end of these wandering, of these traveling. The process of bhakti gets introduced to us by the mercy of the devotee. Mercy of ultimately, the devotee is ultimately the spiritual master. Ultimately, we may be introduced, like, for example, and I talk about Yashadev all the time, but he's distributing books, and he's connecting with hearts, and in that way he's helping to awaken this understanding in people that, yes, you do have a place, you do have a shelter, you can look for a different goal other than the one that you might have been trained to understand. And ultimately, Yashadev is a guru. And however, as I said, there's different types of gurus. And he, if we think about the disciplic succession, then he would be in the line of a guru in order to bring that person to a guru. So, or for that in order to help to keep awakening that love that's in our hearts for the Lord, as opposed to the love for wandering in these material universes that we so desperately cling to because we don't know something else. So here Yashadev is opening the hearts, him and his beautiful wife, to helping others to learn something else. So in that sense, he is a guru because he has knowledge and he's awakening the hearts. Now, that somebody might find that very controversial, but that's a fact. Because there are different kinds of gurus, and that's something I wanted to share here. Prabhupada says here, yes, persons who are intelligent, philosophically inclined. Yeah. So whether Prabhupada tells us in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, whether one is a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or a Sudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. So that's a criteria. That's important, to know the science of Krishna. And I wanted to share from my own spiritual master 3 types of guru that he had taught us over the years. And he says that there are gurus who have their 2 feet in the spiritual world. So these gurus are called Nityasiddha. They are devotees of the Lord, and they're first-class devotees, right? These devotees, they are sent from the spiritual world, and they come and they're able to, just like magnets, just touch us and immediately open our hearts, help us to open our hearts, and they can take us back to the spiritual world. Many of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they give us their reasons, understanding, realizations of Srila Prabhupada being a Nitya Siddha. There are another kind of guru who have one foot in the material world and the other in the spiritual world. So this is a second kind of guru. This is a guru, has understanding, but they still might have something in the material world that they're connected to, not saying attached to, but something they're connected to. And so these are gurus like intermediate stage, intermediate stage. They essentially, these gurus, they have a foot in the material world, a foot in the spiritual world, and they're guides that got people back to their final destination, to where we really belong. And they very successful in following the path of sadhana bhakti. So they perfected that. And then there's another kind of guru who has 2 feet in the material world. They are in the material world. However, they have knowledge, and they have a vision that they do understand the spiritual world. They have clarity of the spiritual world, and they know that the purpose of being in this material world is to help people to get that vision, that clarity of vision, that there is a spiritual world, a place other than this place where we're in, where we just, think, we just keep going from one planet to another, one universe to another. They are able to have that realization that yes, this is a place where you want to traverse through, wander through, and they're able to give that knowledge. However, they themselves might still be in the material world. In other words, they will be able to give that person an understanding of a Nitya Siddha, of a guru that's directly coming from the spiritual world. So all of these personalities that takes this responsibility on behalf of the Supreme Lord are important. We have people that are like Vartman Padaksha Guru. For example, when I came to Krishna consciousness, someone directed me physically, externally. That person was externally situated in the material world and engaged in seemingly material activities. At the same time, was able to direct me to Krishna consciousness, Vartman Padaksha Guru, right? And then there are gurus that their consciousness is connected to their shelter, their ultimate goal. Yet they come into this material world and they do different activities. They participate in different activities. And then there are gurus that are not affected at all by anything in the material world, nothing. And they come here and they simply, sometimes just by looking at them, many people can tell us, many devotees have said, well, just when I saw Srila Prabhupada, just his golden complexion and how beautiful he looked, that captured their hearts. Just the external presence of a guru can capture the hearts of the living entity once they come to that realization that they want to find their real shelter. They want to stop the wandering. So that's the tension, right? In the material world, people will come to that point. Everyone will come to that point where that tension becomes present in their hearts and also externally. And when they start connecting with that tension and wanting something to be done about that tension, the guru appears. For different people, that tension might bring a different guru depending on, their own qualification, that person's qualification. So this science of Krishna consciousness is so very beautiful. And what's important is what Prahlad Maharaj tells us at the end of this purport, where Arupa Goswami describes Anyabilasita Sunyam, this verse about purity, about a pure transcendentalist. Prahlad Maharaj says that a person may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, mystic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. And Gajendra did this. He quotes about the story, pastime of Gajendra, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. So this verse is glorifying devotional service, glorifying the need, the absolute need to have a spiritual master, and also helping us to understand that we're wandering, or people that don't have this knowledge are wandering in the different material universes. However, there's help. Just have to send out the SOS. There's help. And help is there for everyone, because Krishna, he makes himself available for everyone. He is in the heart of every living entity. So no one can say, oh, yeah, God is not there. Not really. They can try to say that. Atheists can try to say that, but that's never, ever a fact. We all have an opportunity. We all will get an opportunity to be able to experience ultimate love of God, simply based on our own particular desire. Okay, my dear friends, devotional service, chant Hare Krishna, hear Bhagavatam class. Those two are most important. So thank you for helping me to go to, I was speaking to Yashadev and saying, Yashadev Prabhu, I'm not, whatever. Yashadev is a scholar, guy's a scholar, studied the Bhagavatam, Tarka, he can come up with so many different things of Srila Prabhupada. I love giving, I love sharing whatever I read, and I love whatever little realizations I might be getting. And so this is why I love to give Srimad Bhagavatam class and hear Bhagavatam. Okay, there's a few minutes for Tarka Prabhu and anybody else. Sorry about that. Took a long time. I think Tarka has 16 things in the chat. So, yes, he talks about persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for the purpose, and which is obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet down to the lowest. Okay, Tarka, you had something to say, Prabhu? It's a lot of verses.
I don't know.
All right. Yeah.
I do have few thoughts about Srila Prabhupada is talking in this purport a lot about a Brahmin, the qualifications of a Brahmin, who can be guru, that if a Brahmin is not a Vaishnava, then he's really not qualified to be guru. But if one is a Vaishnava, even from a very low class of men, that individual is qualified. So there are lots of verses that support this understanding. And I think I posted some of them. There is from Vraja-Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the 8th chapter, whether one is a Brahmana, sannyasi, or a Shudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. That's the basic qualification. And but this idea that anyone has the potential to act in this capacity is supported by many other verses. And Bhagavad Gita in that 9th chapter, Mamhi part of your Pashvaritya Vishu Papayonaya. Krishna says, O son of Pratha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Shudras can attain the supreme destination. So there's no bar, there's no disqualification. Anyone potentially can become fully Krishna conscious, and then knowing the science of Krishna, they can become spiritual master. Also, where is that now? Srimad, in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th chapter, it explains there are different races of human beings that are non-Vaishnava. They have all kinds of disqualifications, but where is that? Kiratas, Hunas, Andras, Malindas, Pulkashas, Apiras, Sumbas, Yavanas, member of the Kasa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, due to his being the supreme power. Says, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. But the idea here is that even these lower classes of human beings, all of them have the potential to be purified and elevated, and any of them can act in the capacity of guru. They just simply have to know the science of Krishna, which is what Srila Prabhupada is teaching us here in his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam. We're hearing every day the science of Krishna. So we all have the potential to become guru, and there are degrees as well, to the extent that we can explain that science of Krishna, we become guru. And you may not know very much, it may be very little. Srila Prabhupada used to give the example of Malati's daughter when she was very young. Saraswati would she was a very young child. She didn't know a lot of things, but she would approach people, perfect strangers, and say, do you know who Krishna is? And an individual might say no, so she would say Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna, Srila Prabhupada was always very pleased with this. He would cite this example all the time, that she is acting perfectly, just as a guru. She's just simply, even regardless of her actual level of understanding, simply by repeating without changing anything, just to deliver the message purely, without adding anything, without subtracting anything, that is the fundamental qualification of guru. So Srila Prabhupada would speak extensively about this, the importance of parampara, the purity of the message, and that the actual potency is dependent upon the purity of the message. The potency, Krishna's words have great potency. By his words, he can purify anyone, anything, and convey the understanding with ease. He can accomplish many things in one fell swoop with a few words. Our words have very little potency. We don't have very much capacity. But if we can repeat Krishna's words without interpretation, without adding or subtracting anything from them, those words will still carry the same potency. And in that way, even an individual who doesn't not necessarily have tremendous understanding, can act at the capacity of guru simply by repeating, just repeating. Sometimes we say that one should not repeat like a parrot, that you should actually have some understanding. But it's also true, and Srila Prabhupada, I can't recall exactly where this was now. He also stated that you can just simply repeat exactly like a parrot, and that's also valuable. It's also perfect. Krishna's words, if you can just repeat them, even like a parrot with no understanding, the words will have effect. It will have effect on you. It will have effect on anyone who hears it. You just have to repeat purely. So we used to always repeat these various aphorisms such as purity is the forest, books of the basis, and so on. Became a little controversial at some point. There was some question as to whether or not Srila Prabhupada actually said those things. No one was sure what the source is, but the idea is valid, that the force is dependent upon the purity. Purity is that you simply don't change anything. Because as soon as we introduce changes to Krishna's words, then the potency, there's nothing we can do that's going to increase the potency of Krishna's words. We can, however, reduce the potency by changing the message. So as far as we can express those words in our own words, but the idea is that we don't want to change the fundamental underlying principles and concepts. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was some of my thoughts.
Thank you.
Don't want to take us way over time or over.
Yes, we're already over time, but thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, it's always nice to hear your reflections on these verses. Yeah, and I'm always awed by Haridas Thakur. I'm always awed, and that and we know that this is Leela, but still who he was in this world and who he became by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So yeah, it's possible for everyone. Thank you so very much. Thank you, dear devotees. Thank you for staying on. And yeah, I'm very grateful to be able to agitate my own consciousness for my own purification. So thank you so much. Arable.
Thank you, Mataji, for a wonderful class.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy, I mean, I say these things, and I don't want it to be cliche, like, Guru's mercy, because some application for ourselves has to be there. And so even for me, when I think of giving classes, I think, oh, I'm going to get an opportunity to learn to apply something in my life. That's what Bhagavatam class means for me. And so today, for me, what I take away is, why you keep wandering these universes? What is it that keeps you going like this? Oh, so like, oh, Krishna, thank you for sending me a guru. Thank you. So thank you, Leela. Thank you, because you're a guru for me in so many ways. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, I just feel like I get so blessed. I'm here this morning with like 3 pillars. When Taraka Dasa Prabhu wasn't here in the beginning, I'm like, where is he? I was used to being here for class, and I'm like, oh no, is he not going to be here? And like you said about Yasudev Das Prabhu, and sometimes I think Yasudev doesn't even realize how inspiring he is in so many ways. Just his pronunciation of Sanskrit and his devotion in showing up in class and the way that he sings to us just inspires me to want to learn more and to study verses and to want to memorize verses. And then who you are in my life, how you guide me, protect me, and push me along in Krishna consciousness. And so it's just fantastic. And so thinking about wandering, like you said, I thought about this saying that I used to think was so silly, that this American saying, all who wander are not lost, this quote. And then this morning I was thinking about, yes, sannyasis wander, but they're not lost. And Narada Muni wanders all over through universe, and he's not lost because his whole purpose everywhere he lands is bringing Krishna consciousness
Yeah.
and bringing people up. And so, yeah, all who wander are not lost. And hopefully, if we continue to wander right now, we're wandering with that purpose. So, thank you so much.
That's so beautiful. That's what I'm saying. You know, everyone has so much realization, and everyone is a guru. You just shared like a wealth there in that little package. That's such a deep understanding that, let's not wander for the goal that's going to keep us wandering. Let's wander like those personalities you just shared. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lila. Really appreciate your sharing. Yeah, that's what Bhagavatam's class is about, right? We hear from each other. Thank you so much. That's a part of Bhagavatam class, hearing from each other. Haribol, thank you, Yashadev. You want to close us out with anything, Prabhu? No, you're doing 20 things at the same time.
No, I'm here. Thank you, Mataji. Always so encouraging and inspiring and always so optimistic and seeing the great potential in Krishna consciousness. And I just feel like everything is possible when I hear you.
Hari Hari, your love in action. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day, dear devotees. Happy New Year.
Haribol.
Happy New Year. Haribol.